To learn how far the Democrats have shifted from the mainstream on immigration, let's compare the old Kirsten Gillibrand to the latest iteration. Now, before she was appointed to replace Hillary Clinton as senator from New York in 2009, Congresswoman Gillibrand opposed amnesty for illegal immigrants. She opposed a proposal to let illegal immigrants obtain driver's licenses in New York. She supported making English the official language of the United States. Well, now let's fast forward to last night.
I don't think ICE today is working as intended.
Well, you think you should get rid of the agency?
I believe that it has become a deportation force, and I think you should separate the criminal justice from the immigration issues, and I think you should reimagine ICE under a new agency with a very different mission and take those two missions out. And that's why I believe you should get rid of it, start over, reimagine it, and build something that actually works.
Well, two things are clear from Gillibrand's about-face on immigration. She's clearly running for president in 2020, no doubt about it. And more Democrats now see the radical proposal to abolish ICE. Well, that's a winning issue. And it sounds better than saying I'm for open borders. Well, are they right? Let's debate that with American Conservative Union President Matt Schlapp and former DNC Deputy Press Secretary Jose Aristimuno. Jose, let's start with you. I'm wondering if this is the right gamble for the Democrats. I watched Chuck Schumer after Maxine Waters last weekend come out on Monday. And I remember when Chuck Schumer, this is how long I've been around, I remember when he ran for Congress, okay, in like 1986 or whenever that was. He's a pretty wily cat. He's pretty smart. And he thought that Waters was getting a little too heated in the rhetoric and so forth. And I imagine he's worried about this as well, because Democrats still have to attract blue-collar workers, not just regular run-of-the-mill people who aren't all that political. When they hear abolish ICE, they hear abolish safety. Are you worried about that?
It's a good point you bring forth, and as a Democrat, I can tell you this. I don't necessarily think that we need to abolish ICE once and for all, but I do think in the last couple of years, especially under a Trump administration, and I agree with the senator, it has become a deportation force. So we need to make sure, at least if we're not going to abolish it completely, let's have a conversation on where the resources should be implemented when it comes to ICE. So
let's talk, Matt, about what is happening with Congress, members of Congress, because there is a Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal who was at this big protest yesterday on Capitol Hill. They took over the Hart Senate office building. They arrested 500 people. That's what the Capitol Police was up to yesterday. And I want you to listen closely to what she said.
I have been working on immigration issues for 20 years, and the enforcement functions which need to be here in a country as ours, we do have immigration laws, they do need to be enforced, but those functions don't need to be in an agency that has become a rogue agency that literally has no accountability to Congress around the hundreds of millions of dollars that we spend.
Has no accountability, Matt. Is that a try to conservative twist on what sounds like kind of a radical idea? I mean, you want agencies to be accountable to somebody. So that's the new thing. They're rogue. They've gone rogue, deportation force, kids in cages, etc.
Yeah, you know, ICE did all the same things under President Obama, Laura, but you never read any of these stories. You never read about this rogue agency that was somehow out of bounds. And by the way, they get all their money from Congress, and, you know, they're the executive branch, and Congress has oversight over them, and they should do that aggressively. But the fact is this, you're going to have, we created ICE under the Bush years because at the end of the day, you have to have some part of the federal government that enforces our border. We're either going to enforce it or we're not. And when you enforce the border, it comes down to individual personal stories, and the left will try to make it sound like we're being cruel and somehow inhumane. But the fact is, when you let criminals come over the border and we haven't vetted them, it hurts immigrant communities. When people get to cut in line, they're cutting in line over other people from countries who are waiting in line to come here legally. So it's actually these immigrant communities that are hurt when we don't enforce our border.
Well, they also, Jose, help with human trafficking, stopping drugs from coming into the country. They have a lot on their plate. And again, I feel it and see it, that the energy in the Democratic Party is on the far left. That's where it's like the Bernie crowd, like take over the Hart Senate office building, march up, you know, get your plastic cuffs on, make the photo, tweet it, selfie. I've got to say, I'm just as a matter of political analysis.
Yeah.
I don't get it. How is that a political strategy for expanding your base?
Well, look, a few things. And Matt brought a good point forth. And he's saying that we're talking about ICE being an agency that's gone wrong and all these sort of things. Look, there are ICE officials, former officials, who have come forth and said, we need to do something about this agency because you said it. ICE as an agency, they're supposed to be going against transnational crime organizations.
Well, they also deport people, like Obama deported people. Were you talking about that back then when Obama was deporting
100%.
tons of people?
I was talking about it.
Okay, well, maybe the other networks weren't.
But look, why don't we, and I've said this time and time again on your show, if we care about so much about the future of this country and we care about all the immigrants here, that right now what they have is amnesty. The 11 million who are in this country right now, they have amnesty.
Well, we're going to have another million if we don't have an ICE force that's able to deport people who cross our border illegally, get deportation orders, and have to go home.
Let's deport.
Do you feel like any of them can go home? Or
look,
no? Should any of them be deported?
100%. If you're an MS-13 gang member, if
only if you're that.
Well, no. If you're a real criminal, you've committed serious crimes, rapes,
but crossing
violence,
the border, in your mind, crossing the border itself, you cross the border. Maybe you bring someone else's kid with you. Maybe you come with a group of people. Should you be sent home? You should at least go before a judge and see if you have a case for asylum. Which, by the way, right now, President Trump and Jeff Sessions are trying to change. The courts have already determined due process does not require a judge if you cross the border illegally. It doesn't require an immediate seeing of a hearing.
It's basic human rights. It's basic human rights.
Well, that's it. Matt, here's one other thing, and then we've got to go. This poll that came out yesterday. 84%, according to the Mark Penn poll that he just did, said that you arrest illegal immigrants for crimes, they should be required to notify the authorities, immigration authorities, take them into custody. And that's an anti-sanctuary cities mindset that's clearly in the voting public. Now, I think people feel very uncomfortable about, like, large-scale deportations. I don't think a lot of people want to see that. But they do want to see crime. Jose said they do want to see crime tackled and dealt with. And the idea of just letting people who cross the border illegally can stay, I don't see the big groundswell for that, except among the fringe.
Yeah, so for Republicans and conservatives, immigration is about the law. For Democrats, it's about emotion. And if you want to look at the politics of immigration, there are two things that are absolutely right. Mark Penn's study shows it, which is this concept of us not being aware of the criminals that live amongst us, and this concept of sanctuary cities, which are now sanctuary counties and states. That is bad politics all over it. The other thing is that most Americans, almost 50% of them, would compare to all the other options, they believe that people, adults who cross the border illegally, simply should be sent home immediately. The politics of the extreme left on this for the Democratic Party and immigration might sound good to their base. It's going to help Republicans come November.
All right, gentlemen, we'll see. It could go either way, perhaps, but we'll see. Thank you so much.